Want scary stories? Listen.
In February of 2023, a 911 dispatcher received a phone call from a woman begging for her life. She gave her address. She gave the name of the person who was going to kill her. She even gave the exact time she would die. Police were dispatched immediately. But when officers arrived, the woman was alive, completely alive. 12 minutes later, she was found dead, but that was not the most disturbing part. The most disturbing part was discovered later. According to mobile carrier records, the call to 911 was made 10 minutes after her death. That is why this case is still considered one of the strangest unofficial cases in the city's history. It all began at 10:41 p.m. Dispatcher. Emily Parker was working her final shift. Before the weekend, the night had been quiet. A few noise complaints, a couple minor traffic accidents. Nothing unusual. Then a new call appeared on her screen. Emily answered, 911. What is your emergency? For several seconds, all she heard was heavy breathing. Then a woman's voice spoke. She was crying, but not the way people cry during a panic attack. It sounded like the voice of someone who already knew how the story ended. Please send someone to my house. He's already coming. Who is coming? My husband. He's going to kill me. Emily quickly opened a new incident report. What is your address? The woman gave her address. What is your name? Sarah Wilson. Where is your husband right now? A long pause followed. At work. Then why do you think he is coming home? Sarah answered with a sentence Emily would remember for the rest of her life, because it already happened. Emily assumed the woman was in shock. Sarah, listen to me. Officers are already on their way. You don't understand what don't... I understand. You only have 12 minutes. The line went dead. Police were dispatched immediately. The patrol arrived 8 minutes later. Sarah herself answered the door. Alive, calm. No signs of an attack. No injuries. No danger. She looked confused. When officers told her about the call, she seemed genuinely surprised. I never called anyone. The officers checked her phone. It was sitting on the kitchen counter. The last outgoing call had been made several days earlier. Her husband was still at work. Security cameras confirmed it. Co-workers confirmed it. Everything pointed to a misunderstanding. The officers were preparing to leave, when one of them noticed something strange. Sarah looked terrified, not nervous. Terrified, as if she was waiting for something. Miss Wilson, are you sure? Everything is okay? She remained silent for several seconds, then finally answered, I have been having the same dream every night. What kind of dream? I wake up in the middle of the night. I hear my bedroom door opening. Then someone stands beside my bed. The officer smiled. Just a nightmare. Sarah slowly shook her head. No, because it always ends the same way. I see his face, and then I die. A few minutes later, the officers left. The time was 10:53 p.m. Exactly, 12 minutes after the call. At 10:53 p.m., the dispatch center received another emergency call. This time, it came from a neighbor. She reported hearing a woman scream. The patrol returned immediately. When they arrived, the front door was standing open. The house was silent. Inside, they found Sarah. She was lying on the bedroom floor. Dead signs of a violent struggle covered the room. Furniture had been overturned. Pictures had been knocked from the walls. But there was one problem. There was no killer, no intruder, no one else inside the house. The entire neighborhood was locked down. Police searched every street, every vehicle, every alley. Nothing. Nobody had seen anyone enter or leave. Investigators immediately began reviewing security footage. They expected to find an unknown suspect, someone entering the house, someone leaving the house. Anything. Instead, they found something impossible. Nobody entered the house. Not an hour before the murder. Not during the murder. Not after the murder. The cameras showed only Sarah alone. The entire time. The case was becoming stranger by the hour. 2 days later, the technical team completed its analysis of the 911 call. That was when the real nightmare began. The call had definitely come from Sarah's phone. Not a spoofed number, not a system error, not a hacked device. Her phone. The problem was the timestamp. According to records from the mobile carrier, the call was placed at 11:03 p.m., 10 minutes after Sarah died. At first, the experts assumed the system had malfunctioned, but every server showed the same result. Every backup showed the same result. Every log showed the same result. The call had been made after her death. It was impossible. Yet the evidence said otherwise. The investigation should have ended there. But one technician made a decision that changed everything. While listening to the recording, he noticed a faint sound hidden beneath Sarah's voice. A crackling noise, almost like static. At first, everyone assumed it was interference, but after hours of audio enhancement, the technician discovered it was not static at all. It was another voice, extremely quiet, almost impossible to hear. He spent the rest of the night cleaning the audio, removing background noise, increasing the volume, separating frequencies, until finally the words became clear. When he heard the message, he immediately contacted investigators, because the voice belonged to Sarah. But it was not the Sarah speaking to the dispatcher. This voice sounded different. Terrified, desperate, as if she were standing directly beside the phone, whispering. The message contained only 5 words: "Do not open the bedroom door again." The room fell silent. Nobody knew what it meant, but they were about to find out. Investigators assumed the message referred to the bedroom where Sarah had been killed, so they returned to the house and began examining every detail once again. That was when they noticed something strange. The bedroom door looked newer than everything around it. The frame was old, the walls were old, the carpet was old, but the door itself had been replaced recently. Records showed Sarah had installed it only 3 months earlier. No explanation was listed, no repair request, no damage report, nothing. Detectives began interviewing neighbors. One elderly woman remembered several conversations she had with Sarah during the weeks before her death. According to her, Sarah had become obsessed with one thing. Every night at exactly 11:03 p.m., she would hear her bedroom door opening. The sound woke her every time. She would sit up, turn on the light, and look directly at the door, but it was always closed, every single time. At first, she thought she was imagining it. Then she started recording herself while she slept. The recordings showed nothing unusual. No movement, no sounds, no opening door. Yet, Sarah continued, insisting that it happened every night. The neighbor recalled their final conversation. Only hours before Sarah died, Sarah looked exhausted. She had dark circles under her eyes, and she seemed afraid to go home. Before leaving, she said something. The neighbor never forgot. "I think something is trying to get in." The neighbor asked if she meant a stalker or a burglar. Sarah shook her head. "No, not into the house. Into me." Those were the last words anyone heard from her. The case was never solved. No suspect was identified. No arrest was made. No explanation was ever accepted. But the story did not end there. 1 year later, another dispatcher, in another city received a similar call. Different woman, different address, different voice. But the same fear, the same desperation, and one sentence that matched Sarah's: call exactly. You only have 12 minutes. When investigators compared the recordings, they discovered something even stranger, hidden beneath. The second call, there was another whisper, barely audible, almost impossible to hear. It sounded like a woman crying. Then a voice quietly said, "I tried to warn her." The identity of the speaker was never determined. Both recordings remain stored in evidence archives, and according to former employees, they are only played once during dispatcher training, because nobody has ever been able to explain how a woman called 911 10 minutes after she was already dead.